So yeah, y'all requested it, so now I'm doing it. These are my high school stats. So I'll link in the description the different sections, so if you want to skip a few sections, you can go ahead and do that. So first up is GPA. My unweighted GPA was a 4.0. Weighted GPA, while I was in first semester of senior year, so while I was applying to colleges, and ultimately the GPA that colleges saw was a 4.18, and then that went up after first semester of 4.27. In terms of UC GPA, the capped and weighted GPA was around a 4.17, I think, at the time that I applied. My school doesn't rank, so I didn't have a rank. In terms of my test scores, I took the SATs twice. The first time was in December of 2017. That time I got a 1470, 740 on reading, and a 730 on math, with a 20 on the essay. And then I took it again to improve my scores. I took it in May of 2018, and that time got a 1570, a 770 in reading, and an 800 in math. I also took the ACT just to try it out, and ultimately ended up submitting the ACTs to a few colleges. So my ACT, I only took it once in February 2018, got a 34 with a 36 in English, 33 in math, 34 in reading, 34 in science, and a 10 on the writing. As for subject tests, I took a few subject tests because I was applying to be a computer science major, a STEM-focused major. I knew that I needed a few math and science-related subject tests. So the first set of tests I took, or the first sitting for the SAT subject tests for me, was June 2018. So for German, I'm native in German, so I got an 800 when I took the German exam. Math 2, I got a 730 in June, and then physics I was planning on taking, but then chickened out at the last minute, so didn't end up taking it in June of 2018. Because I wanted to improve my math score and I needed a physics score, I took it again in October of 2018, got a 670 on physics, math 1, because I added that into it. I forgot to mention that the previous sitting in June was math 2. So now in October of 2018, I took math 1 and got a 750, and then math 2 got an 800, so I was glad I didn't have to take the math 2 test again, but I definitely did need to improve my physics score. So I booked the November 2018 subject test sitting, but overslept and didn't end up taking the physics exam then. And then finally, the last time in December of 2018, the last time I could take it before it needed to be sent off was physics, and I got a 780. So now a little context about my school career in terms of freshman through senior year. For freshman and sophomore year, I was in a different state. I was in Georgia, and I went to an IB school in Atlanta. So I was taking all pre-diploma program, or MYP classes, for the IB program, which were the highest classes offered, since my school didn't offer APs, and that's why my GPA was lower than the other students at my new school in terms of students who were taking the same classes as me. So a few classes that I took, I was in native German from freshman to sophomore year, and I also took Spanish 5 in sophomore year. And then between my sophomore and my junior years, I moved to Virginia, and am now at an IB school in Virginia. So my junior year course load, I took IB/HL English, IB/HL Math, / AP Calc BC. They kind of combine the two courses. IB/HL Computer Science, band, an online government course through my school, which was a Virginia requirement, Physics 1, and then IB/SL Economics. Now senior year, I'm currently taking IB/HL English, IB/HL Math, IB/HL Computer Science, band again, online government, the second part, which I finished in first semester, IB/SL Physics, IBSL Spanish B, and then IBSL Global Politics. So I can only really talk about the AP/IB test that I took junior year, since colleges don't access or really don't care about the ones I took or will take in senior year. So my junior year I took 5 AP tests, one for BC Calc, which I got a 5 on. Then I also decided to take 2 AP tests for which I wasn't taking a class. Those were AP Spanish Language and Culture and AP US Government, since those were 2 classes that I missed not being at the school because I was not at the school for sophomore year. So I got 5s on both of those. I just studied a week in advance of those exams by myself, and then got 5s on those. And then I also took the IBSL Economics exam, and then a little disappointingly, based on how much work I put into it, got a 6. So now for some subjective stuff. In terms of my extracurriculars, the biggest thing I did in terms of my extracurriculars was mock trial. I had been on my old school's mock trial team for freshman and sophomore year, and then coming to my new school in Virginia, I actually founded our team here. We got 5th place, a 5th place finish in Virginia in 2018, and then we were the Virginia State Champions in 2019. In terms of individual accomplishments with that, I was the captain both years, junior and senior year, as well as founding the team that eventually within another year went on to be the state champion. And then along that road, I got Best Attorney Awards in Virginia for 2018 and 2019. I was also involved in band all 4 years of high school. I was a concert master for both my old school's band as well as my new school's band, and then conducted pep band during senior year during the football games. That was a lot of fun. I also started working at the beginning of my senior year at a STEM tutoring center nearby. So that was a paid work position that I talked about, tutoring mainly in math, statistics, computer science, like coding and circuits or electrical engineering, that sort of thing. I was also student council representative for the senior class during my senior year, a youth representative for the local Young Democrats Association, a student liaison to the school board's business committee during senior year, and for both junior and senior year I was the vice president and formerly the director of policy for my high school's Young Democrats Club, and I helped write or draft the constitution for that club. I've also been tutoring high school students for both junior and senior year through my school, through a Saturday tutoring center. I did travel soccer in the area during my junior year, and although I didn't talk about it in my applications because I didn't know if I was going to make the team, I made varsity soccer in my senior year. And the final thing I talked about in my Common App extracurricular section were my exchange trips to Dresden, which I did in 9th grade, and then to Barcelona, which I did in 10th grade. So yeah, that's sort of the extent of my extracurricular involvement. In terms of other things of note, I've already taken 2 college classes. I took 2 classes at Harvard during the summer of 2018. Those classes were Introduction to Data Science and Multivariable Calculus, and I got an A in both of those classes. So going into applying for colleges, I already had 2 college classes under my belt that I can use for credits later on. In terms of my essay, the main Common App essay, I wrote about tackling adversity in my life through technology. So I talked about doing various interdisciplinary projects throughout my high school life, and just how connecting humans with technology has really given me a passion throughout high school and helped me to overcome some of the obstacles I've faced in my life. For some of the supplements, because it varies by school, the 2 most common, I think, were talking about my experiences with mock trial, and what it was like to sort of get a new team up and running my junior year at my new school. And then I also talked about the lessons I learned from going abroad on exchange trips and how that sort of shaped my worldview in terms of being open-minded to other cultures or other perspectives. So the final part would be recommendations. I had a total of 3 teacher recommendations, which I sort of mixed and matched for different colleges. The first, and I think most often used, was my BC Calc teacher who I had in junior year. I had a great relationship with her, definitely learned a lot in her class, and I had such a fun experience in her class that pushed me to pursue more calculus, and then ultimately became the deciding factor in me wanting to study multivariable calculus over that summer. My next teacher recommendation was my IB math teacher for senior year, as well as my IB computer science teacher for both junior and senior year. We have a very good and a very friendly relationship, and he's seen my development as a student and my development in terms of making different projects related to computer science, both in junior and senior year. And additionally, for some schools, they required both a STEM related teacher recommendation as well as a humanities related teacher recommendation. So for that humanities side, I asked my senior year IB HL English teacher. We've had a great relationship, and I've really enjoyed the depth of discussion in her class. So I think on the whole, I really love the teachers and the classes for which I got recommendations for. So I don't think the recommendations were by any means sort of a weak spot in my application. And then in terms of my counselor application or counselor recommendation, I had a good relationship with my counselor. I'd gone in to talk to her a few times, and had talked in sort of asking for the recommendation about some of the differences between coming from an all IB school in Atlanta to my new school in Virginia. So that really is the extent of my stats. Those are all of the things that I think are important in applying to college. And as always, take any stats video with a grain of salt, especially mine. I'm just one blip in this entire applying to college landscape, and by no means definitely don't take anything I say or the stats I had as an indicator of you need this to get into this college. It's definitely been a learning process for me, learning how really stats, when it comes down to it, when you're compared to other students, don't always matter as much as you think they might. So what I would say sort of as a closing remark is, if anything, what you should take away from any of these stats videos that you see on YouTube or talking to seniors who are graduating this year is listen to how passionate they are and how driven they are to do something new or to stand out, not necessarily just by getting the best test score or getting the best GPA, but by doing something that they're passionate about and that they can really sink their teeth into, both on a high school level and a college level. I think that's probably the most underrated part of the college application process, especially if you're looking at it from a student perspective and seeing, oh, I need to get this score or this grade in a class, or do these extracurriculars. Really, I think the college application process is really about showing admissions officers and showing colleges what you can contribute going forward, and a great deal of that is about showing the drive and the ambition that you've had in high school and how you've harnessed your energy to do something positive for your community or for yourself or for someone else. So really, stats at the end of the day do matter in terms of getting you seen and getting on the level of every other applicant. So I would say it's good to know and to keep in mind sort of the general or relative ranges for different stats for different colleges, but I wouldn't say you should rule out any colleges, especially ones that you really click with or really are passionate about because of any particular stat. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be your interviews, your essays, your recommendations, and sort of your whole holistic body of work in terms of what you've done and what you've been passionate about throughout high school that will either make or break your college decision process.